So a year ago, last September, I stood in front of this sign and I told you there were some problems with some wild trails and the forestry wanted to close some of them. That was part of a advocacy process and trying to get certain people on board with some subtle changes to save the wild trails here at Gisburn. So a year on, let's go and have a look at how well that advocacy worked and how well Gisburn's wild trails are running. But if you've only ever ridden trail centre and Gisburn is your local and you want a taste of the off-piste, but that might change. And that bridge is getting very old, but we're almost at the bottom and most people won't ride the original ending. So yeah, remember these are wild trails, they're not maintained as such. But look, this bit's been quite well sorted. And the next one will be even more. And the next one is probably the steepest of the wild trails. That looks like that's had a fair bit of stone put in, that looks good. Well, it even looks like fresh, like really recent. Good stuff, lads. It's the one line with the most gravity, the most potential. Chunk Norris, that's what it's called. So Uncle Bulgaria goes that way, Chunk Norris goes this way. So yeah, it looks like there's even been some very recent work to get it ready for winter, which is brilliant to see. Well done, lads, well done. Through the wall, down another steep bit. Oh yeah, distinctly less use here on Uncle Bulgaria. That's still clear. And then into the dark woods. So as I come round on my lap, I come across this felled tree. Now this was a result of a trail being closed, but both the builder and the forestry reached an agreement as to why it was closed. Not only did a bit further up it have a dangerous fire road crossing that was very fast, but here it crossed the trail on this blind corner and it was not a safe crossing. So this trail, with a little bit more planning on two of the crossings, the fire road crossing and this crossing, probably could have been saved. But because there'd been some incidents at this crossing and at the fire road where people had had near misses, then the forestry were forced to close it. But actually, this is one of the few things negatively that happened out of all of that process, and almost everything I'm going to show you from now on is extremely positive, so stay tuned. So here we are at the start of Stickman. Now if you want to know where any of these trails are, as usual per my rides, the Strava is in the description so you can look at the map, download the GPX. But just along this fire road here is Rocky Road and into Home Baked. So you just turn right at the top of Rocky Road into the straight on into Home Baked. And I've got to say, just an extra thing, that it was really good to see on Rocky Road that it was freshly trimmed by the forestry. So Stickman. Stickman's one of the ones that was left open. And I've already missed that bit of the trail. Doesn't look like it's getting a lot of use. And I don't think anyone will mind me saying that this particular wild trail isn't particularly exciting. It is quite bland. But none of the wild trails at Gisburn are, you know, we're not up at the Golfy or doing any of the, you know, A Forest off piste. But if you've only ever ridden trail centre and Gisburn is your local and you want a taste of the off-piste, then there are a few little off-pistes like this, and this is a great sort of first introduction. It's not too steep, It is rooty, it's not very built, so you've got to pick your lines, deal with the roots, and at this time of year, debris after all the winds. It might be sunny today, but we've had some hellish storms in the last week or so. So you do get branches like that on the ground, or sticks. So it does, you know, sort of prepare you to be able to go and do, you know, say the Borrowdale Bash, not a trail centre, mountain bike loop. Gives you those, a taste of those skills, and that's what they're there for. When no one's pretending that these are the best trails around, they're just Gisburn forests available off-piste trails. And as you can see, very raw, rooty, you got to pick your line, there's boggles. Well, yeah, they are still fun. And as I say, if you're only used to riding trail centre, then riding something like this will greatly improve your skills. Learn you how to pump, how to read a trail. Really good stuff. It's all right. It's all right. I'm good with dogs.
Oh, it's all right. She'd get a bit excited and she's in your way. Sorry, come forward.
No, it's all good. Hello. You can let her go. I'll say hello to her. Hello. 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 Oh yeah, you're beautiful. You're beautiful. Look at your markings. Oh, look at that squeak though. Look at the squeak of excitement. Oh. Cheers.
Come on, this way.
Cheers, enjoy your walk. But remember, and I am a person who rides footpaths, this isn't a footpath, it isn't a right of way, but I'm a believer that the outside is for everyone. And if I want to go up to the lakes and ride footpaths, sometimes on bike trails, you will see walkers. And I would encourage you to share the trail, be polite, have a conversation, like I just did there, stroke a dog. You know, it's all good user group interactions that keep, you know, I said at the start of this video, there was some advocacy involved in keeping these trails open, and everyone can do a little bit of personal advocacy when they meet people on the trails in obeying the golden rule of don't be a dick. It is a rule that will help all these user group interactions, stop trails getting closed in the, you know, the wider world, and keep the access that we have on bikes, because we have a lot of access. Some of it, like footpaths, not strictly fully cemented in law, but it isn't criminal. So let's keep it that way by not having people rail against mountain bikers. So here we are, back at the start of Home Baked. Stickman was over there. And LoaMUDageddon. Now this is one I'm very familiar with because it's one I built in about 2014, 2015 for the PMBA Enduro series. Didn't know whether it was going to be muddy or loamy, hence I called it LoaMUDageddon. It again is not the more interesting of the options available here at Gisburn, but it is early on in the lap. The next two are going to be much more interesting and newer and better maintained, because I'll be honest, I have not been involved with the maintenance here at Gisburn these last few years. It may be something I get involved with again in the near future. They are having a new manager. I didn't like the old manager who took over from the original manager, so I just stepped away, but just did a bit of help on the periphery. But that might change. Now, that bridge is getting very old. It probably needs a good inspect. They're sort of designed to last 5 to 10 years, and that's 11 years old by my reckoning. So it's probably not the safest. So do take care. Remember, you do ride these wild trails at your own risk. This next little bit of boardwalk is probably only 9 years old, but as you can see, it's got collapse bits. But it does get over the boggiest bit of the trail, which is what it was designed to do. And yeah, hellishly washed out. But we're almost at the bottom, and most people won't ride the original ending that went over here. They'll ride that trail to the left, but look, this is the original ending because it was a race stage, and most people just come down here, as you can see now, to finish. But look at that washout. Wow. Wowzers. Yeah, that definitely needs some maintenance. So here we are at what I'm expecting to be one of the more interesting wild trails, Old School Yorkie. There's this post here that marks where the entrance is. Top of the Hope line is over there. And I personally helped get this one going. It had some issues with the bridge crossings and spike hazards and a bad exit. All those things were fixed. I did some of the spike hazard removal because it was quite a fun trail, and I believe that it's been kept being maintained. And oh, I've gone on a different entrance. So like here, a bit more stone to help you get in where it was boggy, and straight into the rooty stuff. Oh, maybe I should lower my saddle, that'd help. So yeah, remember, these are wild trails, they're not maintained as such. And Gisburn is very wet, but particularly on an e-bike, they can still be fun. Ooh, this has had a bit more use and a bit more cut up and sliding around, but that is the wild trail bike handling experience. It is raw, this isn't the trail centre, you do have to work a bit harder. But look, this bit's been quite well sorted. Finding me flow a little bit there. It is like a year since I've ridden these, so I'm sort of riding them blind, especially knowing which bits have been more cut up. Pump, 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 pump. Here we go. I say, these are good if you only ride trail centre and maybe you want to go and do the Borrowdale Bash or something tougher, although that is more rocky than these. but still, it's all good practice for riding non-ideal conditions. I'm expecting a turn. I'm expecting a turn. Oh. Well, I was led to believe that this had been rerouted to a different exit. Anyway, that's swoopy down there. But now we'll go up and we'll do the hunt for Dave's Burger. Basically the next one along this same hill on the way to the Hope Line. So hunt for Dave's Burger, might not be called that, I'll put it on the screen. Hope Line is just there, and this is like halfway to Old School Yorkie. Now I'm not 100% sure how this one is going. I've not heard anything on the grapevine, but I believe it's had some maintenance by the builders and should be still pretty good for going down. So this one at the time last year had some sketchy built wooden ramps and stuff that were even removed before I got there. One of them was down here. So yeah, this one's a little bit more raw, a little bit more sideways rooty. So we're building it up, and the next one will be even more, and the next one is probably the steepest of the wild trails, so stay tuned for that. Well, this one's definitely been well ridden, which is a good sign. And all the crew that built this one are very regular up here, sort of after work and whatever, so we'll be riding their own trails. Oh, looks like that's had a fair bit of stone put in, that looks good. Oh yeah. Yeah, well I can see why this one, well it even looks like fresh, like really recent. Good stuff lads, good stuff. See, that sort of action will keep these running well as we get into winter, more storms in. Oh, I'm liking that this is getting some love. This is what you need, don't just cut in a trail, especially as we get towards winter. Find the worst bits, fill them in with rock, make it more usable. I think I've buggered up that line. But yeah, good to see this has been getting some love. Well done team, well done. And then here, again, I believe the exit was mandated to be moved. Looks like a fresh fall. Well, at least you can get underneath it, but probably needs removing. And yeah, out here without causing any grief. That is all good. Well done to the guys who are maintaining that. Well done. Right, let's go to the next one and I'll try and remember what it's called on the way. And here we are, right at the top of the forest. One little descent and climb takes you to Whelpstone on the red, but this is also one of the high points. Now, there are two lines that go off here. One, Uncle Bulgaria, what we'll do next, that joins my original enduro line out to the fire road. And then the other one that turns off it, whose name I forget now, but it's on the screen, and that's what we're going to do. This is the steepest of the wild trails in the forest. It's the one with the most potential. I also believe it's had some work done on it, so let's have a look. So this was one initially when we started the advocacy process that the forestry were saying would absolutely go, but in the end absolutely stayed. And as I say, it is the one line with the most gravity, the most potential. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this one is running. Chunk Norris, that's what it's called. So Uncle Bulgaria goes that way, Chunk Norris goes this way. And yeah, a lot more rocking to the bog holes to help. Even some fresh there. Oh, almost took the wrong line. So yeah, looks like there's even been some very recent work to get it ready for winter, which is brilliant to see. Well done, lads, well done. As I say, this is the steeper one with more potential, and there you are seeing exactly why. Got a nice bit of bench cutting back there. Through the wall, down another steep bit. Oh yeah, as I say, this is, out of all the ones in the forest, this is the steepest of the wild trails. And look at all that lovely rock that's been put in. Oh yes. This is good to see. Fantastic. As I'm riding this effectively blind, I don't think I've ridden it for a year. Would you look at that? We're already down here. Oh, oh, well, let's go back round and do Uncle Bulgaria, and that one will be the last of the wild trails. I'm still going to go and do a long way down Hully Gully. I'm 52% on my battery. As I say, if you go into the description, my Strava route's there. You can see I've integrated these trails with an ordinary lap of the forest. I've still done circle and home baked. I've still going to do long way down and Hully Gully, bottoms, swoopy, the whole lot. So these are all little bits that you can add on to the red. Maybe not all in one ride like I'm doing, but maybe build yourself up. As I say, particularly if you're only used to riding trails, then these are a nice little extra. So back here at the start of Chunk Norris and Uncle Bulgaria, just taking what might be the cover pick. 48% on my battery, so 4% to come back up this climb. As I say, route in the description. So Uncle Bulgaria into my old enduro line as the last of the wild trails we are doing today. Nearly missed that corner. Distinctly less use here on Uncle Bulgaria. Oh. Still clear. Onto my original enduro line. Built in 2014. So like over a decade old. Coming up to the big rock garden where we got through the bog. There we are. And then into the dark woods. The amount of rock that I put into this bottom section to stop it being an absolute bog fest is unreal. It's also like 12 months since I rode it as well. Oh man, how's this boardwalk holding up? Not very at the bottom. Talking of bottom, there's bottoms. But I'm going to go back up there, back to the top of this trail and on to Long Way Down and Hully Gully. But that's it for this video. So like and subscribe for more of my adventures. And yeah, come and up your skills if you're just doing trail centre. Come and up your skills on some of the wild trails at Gisburn before progressing out into the wilds of the Lake Districts. Thanks a lot. And here I am, ride finished. I've done every worthwhile red, black and wild trail in Gisburn Forest. 13% left on the battery. 2 hours 21 to do 21 mile and 2,855 foot. As I say, link in the description for my Strava and you can see where I've been.